Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. It is your girl, Tiff, aka Opinionated Diva. Welcome to episode number 10. Count it, 10. I am so happy to be at my 10th episode. What it shows to me is my intention and my dedication and your support. So thank you so much. So let's jump right into it. Before I get to my diva drop, we have to acknowledge the untimely passing of the one, the only Kiki Shepard, who passed away, I want to say, from a heart attack at the age of 74. If you grew up in a household where Saturdays at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time was reserved for Showtime at the Apollo that was held in Harlem, New York, then you know that Kiki was the woman that everyone actually really came to see, okay? She was the co-hostess with the mostest and honestly was an inspiration before I even knew that this is something that I wanted to do. And she would always stand tall next to Steve Harvey and later on Sinbad, and she would be rocking these formal gowns. Hello. Wearing that for her and for my 10th episode celebration. She wasn't just a pretty face. She was the heartbeat of the stage. And if you aren't aware of the impact that she had on the culture, let me just quote for you the great big boy of Outkast, who on So Fresh and So Clean eloquently said, "So follow Showtime at the Apollo, minus the Kiki Shepherds. What about a hoe in leopard print? Teddy, Pendergrass, Cool and Freddie Jackson. Iconic. Stamped in the culture, Kiki Shepard. Okay? Even the coolest motherfuckers on the planet knew that you can't have the Apollo without mentioning her. So she was a standard. We're sending so much love to her family and prayers to them and all of her years of Black excellence on our TV screen. I cannot emphasize enough the impact that Showtime at the Apollo and Kiki Shepard had, especially as a Black woman. So there's that. And we also lost a major player in Hollywood. And despite them being a 45 and 47 supporter, I had to say a prayer to get over that because they deserve a shout out for all the work and impact that they did and had on Hollywood. And that would be Chuck Norris, who passed away at the age of 86. Now, for the younger listeners, you might know him from the Chuck Norris facts memes that have been floating around the internet. But if you are of a certain age and you've been around that block or two, then you remember Chuck Norris from Westerns. I know my dad used to watch Westerns all the time. So long before he was Walker, Texas Ranger, he was the Lone Wolf McQuade. Okay? I won't tell you the year, but you can look it up if you want to. And he also went toe to toe with Bruce Lee. Okay, and Way of the Dragon. So shout out to him. He really was a major player in Hollywood. And I think he was even up until last week. I think he was still up in Hollywood, doing shows and out in the world. So shout out to him as well and RIP. Now, let's get to the diva drop. So, of course, we have to start with the biggest buzz this week, which was the Oscars 2026, right? So, if you didn't have a glass of champagne in your hands and your Twitter fingers weren't ablaze on Sunday night, did you even attend the 98th Academy Awards? I can say I did neither. I was actually celebrating St. Patty's Day weekend. So anyway, but I did catch all the recaps the next day, and I am here for all of it. Okay, so let's get into it. First of all, standing, sitting for me, standing ovation for the one, the only Michael B. Jordan, who won Best Actor for his dual role in Sinners. I still have not seen it yet, but I'm going to watch it this week. And don't tell me that it's not scary because you all told me that about Get Out. And honey, I've not watched any kind of movie relatable to that since because it was scary to me. In his speech, he shouted out the legends, Denzel, Sydney, Will. And honestly, the glow on him was better than any lighting in that building. He officially moved from AILF to Academy Award winner, and I am here for it all. Now, okay, I gotta put my glasses up on this one. Let's talk about the collective confusion of the night, which is our girl, Tiana Taylor. So, despite losing the Best Supporting Actress to Amy Madigan, who's been in this business for 45 years and well deserved, Tiana showed ultimate sportsmanship, I think. When Best Picture was announced, she was seen jumping for joy with her one battle after another family. Now, here's where it get a little janky. She put director Paul Thomas Anderson in a headlock on the way to the stage, and she grabbed the Oscar from Nicole Kidman. I don't want to say grab. She was like, girl, give me that. I'll be honest. Okay, it's giving Lil Mama at the VMAs with Jay-Z and Alicia Keys. But they're both from Harlem, so to be expected, right? Right? The internet turned into etiquette experts, okay? And on social media, having something to say about her behavior. And I have something to say about it. So most of you that were doing the complaining were probably not born, or the Oscars were on past your bedtime in order for you to not even think about when Robert Benigni, the Italian actor who won for Best Actor and Best Foreign Language Film, literally did balance beam across all of the chairs with people in them to get to the stage to accept his Oscar. But you know what they called him? And I looked it up. I was doing some research, like, what were they calling that when he did that? Because that shit was crazy. They called it ebullient joy. They call it one of the most exuberant and iconic entrances in Oscar history. That's what they called him. Literally jumping over people on a chair like he a damn monkey. Okay? But when Teyana Taylor gets overly excited and shows her unbridled happiness and joy, it's too much. So all I will say is take from those two experiences what you will. So if being an Oscar nominated actress and cast in an Oscar winning film is a crime, honey, lock her up in Chanel and call it a day, okay? Now, personally, let's be honest. When I saw it, I was like, ugh, I was a little cringe. I'm not gonna lie, I was. But then I'm like, the old adage, like never say never. I'm not saying never, but I will say the closest I've ever gotten to being called up on a stage is when I was in high school and I was in the top 10 at this marketing conference called DECA. Shout out to all my DECA people out there. Does that still even exist? It used to be in high school and college, I'm not sure. And that feeling of excitement, even though I was in the top 10, I didn't win. I felt like a movie star. Maybe that's where I got the bug of like, oh, I could do this for a living. But that's just funny, high school and getting a medal. Okay. But if I was an Oscar nominated, I just don't know how I would act in that atmosphere because it is beyond my stratosphere, at least at this moment. I mean, I just don't know how one thinks you should act. Yes, it is the highest of the highest award show, but people do some crazy. I mean, Will Smith slaps the fuck out of Chris Rock. So on the other side of the room, there was Timothée Chalamet, or the Chalamet, Timothée Chalamet. Marty Supreme got shut out. They were literally 0 for 9 on all nominations. And literally his face said it all throughout the entire night. He was sitting there in all white looking very svelte, I might say, in his Givenchy, looking like a futuristic Ice Cube, honey, but I liked it. And it was clear though that Ice Cube was slowly melting under the pressure of each time they did not win. So also, honey, I didn't know there was such a job as lip readers or professional lip readers, but there is a job for everything and you can't make money from it. So the internet was abuzz about what Timothée Chalamet was saying to his boo thing, Kylie Jenner, during the ceremony. Rumor has it from the lip sync experts that he said, I hate this. And then, get ready, he asked her for a big cuddle later on that night because he was going to need it. I guess because he was a loser. I'm not really sure. But you know what? We all been at that party where we're not the center of attention. Not really my thing at all, but if you normally get it, whatever. But you were expecting at least to win something and you didn't win it. I get it. Like I'd be kind of bummed out too. But between getting his ass handed to him by the ballet and opera community, which he apologized for, but honey, as JoJo said, it's just a little too late. But between that, and Marty Supreme going 0 for 9, I can only imagine his mood. But I will say that the duo showed face, honey, and kept it going because they were at the Vanity Oscars after party later in the evening. So, you know what it is? Touche, Timothée Chalamet. Oui, c'est la vie, bonbons, and all that good shit, as my good people at Wu-Tang once said. Now it's time for the shine, shade, or side eye. And this week, honey, we are going into Mormontown. Now, I really had to do my research on this one because I've never heard of the show, Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. never watched it, but it took over the internet. And once it involved ABC canceling a show, oh, I knew I had to go all the way in. Reality TV, it never disappoints. Taylor Frankie Paul was an internet momfluencer or mom talk, whatever, Mormon. There was some whole scandal, so I'll give you backstory on that. But she was on the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. So she became a household name after she sparked this swinging scandal in the LDS community and eventually became the subject of that reality show, Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. She was already stirring controversy before they even taped one episode because she was also cast to be the next Bachelorette. Now, the problem with that, or the controversy with that, is that in its 24-year history, the Bachelorette has always been someone that was previously on the show. So this was the first time that they were going to have someone who hadn't been on the show before. So that was already kind of some controversy. But I will just say this to ABC and the casting. What do they say about reinventing the wheel? You don't need to. And see where it got you? Look where you are now, ABC and Disney. So even with this casting mishap, I am going to give some shine to ABC as a unit, organization, and staff for pulling The Bachelorette. And they pulled the entire season. And the reason they did that is because this woman in 2023, I'm sure she's had more than that. I think she has. But in 2023, she was involved in a domestic violence dispute with her. I don't know if that was her boyfriend, her husband. I don't know what it was. But this girl was throwing chairs at her man, like stools. And not once, not twice, but 3 times that we know of, because the camera cut off after the 3rd time because you could hear a baby crying because she hit the baby when she was throwing it at the dude. So not only are you know, it's a serious topic when it comes to DV, so I'm not even gonna delve into that, but I'm blaming everybody who's over the age of 18 when it comes to involving children in your shit. This baby's traumatized now. And to hear the cry at the end, it was like, girl. But my thing is, ABC, how did you not, what vetting process did you do? How did TMZ get it? Well, I mean, we can imagine, but how did you all not get that? Did you ask her? She was going to be the Bachelorette of season 2022, but now that's canceled. The show is scrapped for this season. And, I'm glad because there's not enough ratings to overlook what happened during that incident because she needs to get help. So Taylor's Camp Taylor released an official statement, so I'm going to read it to you. Taylor is very grateful for ABC's support as she prioritized her family's safety and security. After years of silently suffering extensive mental and physical abuse, as well as threats of retaliation, Taylor is finally gaining the strength to face her accuser and taking steps to ensure that she and her children are protected from any further harm. Girl, my side eye can't even roll around 360 degrees on that one. There are too many women who are suffering in silence as they survive aggressive, jealous ex-partners who refuse to let them move on with their lives. Taylor has remained silent out of fear of further abuse, retaliation, and public shaming. She is currently exploring all of her options, seeking support, and preparing to own and share her story. And this is what happens, though, when you want your privacy. You were just a Mormon girl living your Mormon life out in Utah or wherever you stayed at. You wanted to go on TikTok. You wanted to be viral. You wanted to be an influencer. You wanted to be on Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. And now you want to be on The Bachelorette. And now you are upset because people are looking at what you did in 2023. Domestic violence with a child involved? Give me a break. You were literally throwing those stools like you were a pitcher in a collegiate softball championship, girl. That's how you were throwing it. I know context isn't what we see, but what I saw, you could have easily, one, left, or you could have taken your child and left. That's just what I saw. Now, again, before and after, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened, but you got to take accountability for what you did too. And so this statement is BS to me. Now, I'm going to throw some shade here too. So besides her, I'm looking at you, Demi Engelman, and any other celebrity influencer who's on this ketamine trip y'all on. Demi Engelman is another cast member on The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. I don't even know why that was a show. I mean, maybe it did good. I don't know. But she claimed that the cast of that show, that their quote, ketamine therapy sessions is what led to Taylor's downfall. She basically is implying that the drug itself, ketamine, makes you speak your truth, and it exposed the cracks that were in Taylor's life. Shade, side eye, go to hell, like all of those things are wrapped in one when it comes to this for me. You were trying to blame your downfall on a pharmaceutical agent, drug, what have you, instead of just taking accountability for what you did. This is a public service announcement to any celebrity and mom talk influencer out there on romanticizing ketamine in Hollywood. You do your own research on celebrities who have died from using ketamine. Here are a couple of things. You may not know that I, once upon a time, was a clinical research professional and regulatory, so compliance is my jam. Ketamine, and the way that you all are using it in Hollywood, is not FDA approved for that use. Ketamine is FDA approved for those who are undergoing surgery and need general anesthesia or need to be sedated. That is what ketamine is for. Now, like with any drug, of course you can use it off label. Absolutely, which means your insurance won't pay for it. But I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. That was my podcast and my former life. But it is not ketamine. FDA approved to treat psychiatric disorders. Hear me again. It is not FDA approved for that. So I don't know what the hell y'all taking it for or how you feel when you come out and all that, honey. It's like any other illicit drug. Yeah, or black market drug. Of course you're going to feel whatever. When you try to use ketamine to fix your life, that's what we have Fix It Iyanla for, okay? Or you think that taking ketamine is going to help you through your divorce or whatever you got going on. Honey, no, that is not what it's for. Now, there is a drug called Spravato, but that is not ketamine. That is S-ketamine with an E in front of it and an S. S-ketamine. That is approved for the treatment of depression and suicidal thoughts. That is approved for that, right? But it is a totally different chemical structure than ketamine. Okay? So what y'all are doing when you're getting these IV drips and you're going to these wellness lounges and you're putting it on the internet, you are, in my opinion, you're doing no different than spilling and spewing out misinformation. That is what you're doing. I don't care what kind of research you're doing. I don't. The answer is no. You go out here and you get these therapies, these ketamine therapies, and it is a wild, wild west out there in Hollywood. In New York too, I'm sure, and actually anywhere in the world where ketamine wellness lounges exist. It's dangerous, it's misleading, and quite frankly, it's messy. So even though this is not my Read the Room segment, read the room. And before I go, we have to talk about the absolute meltdown, honey, that is happening in the Disney and Warner Brothers Discovery Studios. Honey, side eye, $1 billion one. They are losing millions in ad revenue just 3 days before the premiere. And Warner Brothers, who produces the show, is reportedly facing a nightmare of legal finger pointing. They are literally running reruns of American Idol in place of The Bachelorette. On the street also is that they are hiring a crisis PR team just to make sure the entire Bachelor franchise not go up in flames. Honey, this thing is getting real, real, and I'm real at real deal Holyfield, okay? When you play with fire, Disney, you're going to get burned. Not Mickey, Minnie, Goofy, Donald, Simba, Fantasia, any princess or prince is going to be able to save you out of this one. This has been all the buzz this week. The woman is not a movie star. She did not contribute to Women's History Month. No, we're talking about Kristen Cabot, or is it Kristen Cabot? Timothy Chalamet got me all messed up with my accents right now. But she is the woman that was caught on the kiss cam at the Coldplay concert, right? So, HR exec, she was canoodling with the CEO of the same company, Andy Byron, and it went viral. Of course, if you were under a rock, you didn't see it. But Chris Martin joked on the microphone that they were having an affair because they looked like they were having, hey, they were wrapped up, arms around each other. And then what is anyone else supposed to deduce from that when you're on the Jumbotron? She basically, went to her witness protection situation because of the backlash. But now she's resurfaced on the Oprah podcast out of anything you could be if you want to be not seen and you don't want to bring light to it. Here's my thing. First of all, you went on Oprah. If you were so traumatized by this whole entire experience, and now you say that you are unemployable, quote, and that you're, quote, scared to be seen, why are you sitting under Harpo's light? So she told Oprah that she was out here doing this podcast because she wanted to take back the narrative. Girl, she also said during this episode that her ex, this is where it gets like, whatever, girl. So apparently her and her husband were separated, okay? Headed towards divorce. They both were seeing other people. And apparently her now ex-husband was at the concert as well with a date. And she was there with Andy. I don't know what she want to call him. Her daughter had called and said, "Oh, Mom, glad to know both you and Dad are at the Coldplay concert." And she was like, "Oh, okay, well, 55,000 people, I'm not going to run into your father." Well, ma'am, not only did you run into her father, you ran into a Jumbotron with 300 billion views on the internet. So side eye to the logic of you thinking that you might not run into him. Although I get it, like, I'm not going to see him. But honey, when you think that, that's exactly when you're going to run into somebody. She also told Oprah that the 15 seconds of that video turned into, quote, infinite memes and, quote, never ending judgment. She actually said she can't enjoy Coldplay anymore because the music is now tied to her global destruction. Again, another quote. Girl, it is not that serious. Calm down. She said that she's accusing the boss, the guy she was on the date with, of not being truthful with her. So she said to Oprah, quote, "There was a big miss on honesty and integrity. He wasn't the person he represented himself to be." Because allegedly he was separated too. But if you were looking on his wife's internet on Facebook, anything of the sort. But honey, how easy was it for you to do the same thing? You could have did the same thing. So miss me with that. Like, you literally could have asked anybody, like, are they separated? Like, what's going on with them? But you want to go to a Coldplay concert? Okay. She says that lying is non-negotiable for her. Girl, you lied to the entire internet when you literally hid down at the concert, and now you're coming up and saying, well, we were both separated, so like there was nothing for me to hide. Then why did you hide? Make it make sense. Kristen's biggest issue with this whole thing is that she was, quote, left holding the bag. While she became a viral meme and unemployable, honey, it wasn't just you. It was all of y'all. Both of you, okay? Andy, he sent out a public apology to his wife and family because he knew what he did was wrong. And Kristen, you did too. So I don't care if y'all were separated or whatever the deal was, but as an HR executive, you know more than anybody how 1,000 kinds of wrong even going to that concert with him was. Girl, okay. Like, you knew that the whole situation was messy, and going to a public space like that anyway was messy. And what if you didn't even see, what if you weren't on a Jumbotron? Didn't see your husband? I'm pretty sure there's some people at your job who like Coldplay. So either way, girl, the thing was going to get out. You know what I mean? So either way, it was going to get out. And it misrepresented himself. That man literally went home every day to a house that probably had a live, laugh, love sign on the door and some kind of American flag hanging off of their porch. Girl, again, easy for you to find out what was going on with him. She even got mad at Ryan Reynolds and Gwyneth Paltrow, who did a parody commercial about the whole situation. Girl. And then here's my last thing too. She's now saying she's, quote, unemployable, but you got booked on Oprah show. Not saying you got paid for that. But I do know that you are booking keynote speaking gigs where the tickets are $875 per gig. So don't tell me you're unemployable. You're getting money. You're getting a bag. So I will give you shine, girl, for turning this scandal into a speaking tour. But side eye to that, you want your privacy, but yet you will be on one of the biggest stages on earth, which is Oprah. You can't be invisible and on Oprah at the same damn time, girl. Pick a lane. And that's all I have to say about her. Now to my read the room. Oh, this one is dedicated to the one, the only Jack Harlow. Jack Harlow recently sat down with the New York Times podcast to talk about his new R&B heavy album entitled Monica. Jack Harlow said while other white rappers like Post Malone and MGK are retreating into wider genres such as country or rock, he decided to go deeper into Black music. And then he actually said the words, "I got blacker," out loud. Talk about cringe. Jack, sweetie, read the room. You can get a new haircut. You can wear a corduroy blazer and get a newsboy cap like you are in a 2002 Common video. Or you can get a cable knit turtleneck, honey, and be just like Carl Thomas. And you can even love the name Monica, who is it's an ode to Monica, the Monica singer. But see, you done messed up already because, honey, her real name is Gunica. We all know that, inclusive of all those things. The one thing you can't do, Jack Harlow, is get blacker, no matter what music genre you tap into, right? And that is okay. You literally can love R&B music or rap music and all of that and still be you. It's a lived experience that you just don't have. And that's also fine. That doesn't mean you can't appreciate the music or even have an album. I'm not even mad about the album at all. I'm not. I don't care. Do it. And this is just me. I don't speak for the entire community or anybody. I just speak for myself. I think your intentions are very good in terms of this album and the direction that you're going. But what this podcast did to you is put you in a real tight space. So you're in this space between appreciation and appropriation. And it's very, very a rock and a hard place where you are, right? And I personally don't think you're canceled. I'm not canceling you, but who am I? But you're definitely on timeout. I think you need to think about the way you say things. And I think you've had time to think about how am I going to present this new music to the world and what are my intentions behind it and what really made me think that. So even if you thought that, like, I want to go real Black on them, keep that right there. But I will say that Black Twitter, honey, is making sure that you're on timeout. So let's get into this right here. They are currently Black Twitter in the Olympics for best nickname. And right now they're shooting for gold when it comes to you, Jack Harlow. So here are just a few of my favorites. IRS 1 instead of KRS 1. Taxing the culture, maybe. Disingenuine. I love me a good pun. Ninth Wonder Bread. Music Stole Child. Most definitely not. Luther Clandross. Now, that's a lot. That's a lot, but the internet has no chill. Charlie Kirk Franklin. Too soon? No. Look, honestly, for real, I appreciate that you're not running to Nashville or running to heavy metal, but like if that's your inspiration, I am down for you making an R&B record, totally. But you just can't say like, oh yeah, now I'm making Black music. Just so you make an R&B record, it's easy. You know what I mean? I haven't heard the music, but I'm pretty sure it's some tunes on there. You work with very good artists and producers and mixers and beat makers, so I'm pretty sure it's gonna be good. But here's just a word of advice. Keep that identity talk again. Whatever you're thinking, keep it up here. And then when you're explaining that to maybe your friends and your PR people, maybe say like, how can I present this in a way that doesn't make me seem tone deaf or out of touch? And I think if you would have did that, we would have been none the wiser about about what you were thinking. I just don't know. But all I can give you is just sing the songs, honey, and call up Hype Williams to get you a dope 2000s video going, okay? Now, speaking of appreciation versus appropriation and the name Monica, I'm going to give you a brief music history lesson on someone known as Lou Bega. If you don't know who that is, you'll find out in a minute. A little bit of Monica in my life, a little bit of Erica by my side, a little bit of Rita's all I need, a little bit of Tina's what I see, a little bit of Sandra in the sun, a little bit of Mary all night long, a little bit of Jessica, here I am, a little bit of you makes me your man. That is Lou Bega. The name of that song? Mambo number 5. So I have to take you all the way back to 1999. Okay? Some of you might not have been born. Some of you might have been 5 years old. I don't know. Some of you were an adult like me. So you may be thinking, oh, yeah, I remember that song. The Latin guy, right? Wrong. Lou Bega was born David Lou Bega. Lou Bega, David, is half Ugandan from Africa, half Italian, Sicilian to be exact. And he was born and raised in Germany. That is who sings Mambo number 5. Now, he hasn't really made many comments about that. Again, it was in the 90s. There was no Wikipedia to look him up. There was no podcast to listen to him. So all we knew was we liked the song and we danced to it. And so I think that says something, right? If you like something, just sing it. Like, there's nothing wrong with enjoying the culture, honey. Just respect the roots where it came from. And I want to say Lou Bega, I've never heard any other song, but when I was looking up on Wikipedia, it did say that he did do a few other Latin-inspired tunes, but of course, none to the level of success and crossover that Mambo number 5 got. But he is a clear example of you can be from anywhere and have an appreciation for something totally different, and that be what you present to the world. And what he did say about Mambo number 5 is that he went on one trip, I want to say in his teens, to Miami and got inspired by the Latin culture. That is what inspired Mambo number 5. That was it. He didn't say, oh yeah, I'm becoming more Latin. No. So that's all I have there. Thank you all for tuning in to episode 10 of Plenty of Tiff. I mean, 10 might as well be 100 because, honey, it's work doing this. But thank you all so much for your support. You can find me on Instagram at Opinionated Diva. You can find me on TikTok at The Opinionated Diva. And you can find me on YouTube, where I want you to like and subscribe at The Opinionated Diva, which is 2 E's, THEE, Opinionated Diva. So until next time, episode 11, and I'm all about angel numbers, honey. So I know that episode is going to be spicy. Peace.